Welcome back. Moyosore Onigbanjo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, joins us now to take a look at all of those arguments making the rounds. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we heard the President's commentary, which initially heightened the expectations about the names with the figures ascribed attached to those names. But eventually, there's a publication on the name, the figures, but no names. And a lot of people just wondering, why publish figures and no names? But then we've had media aider saying, look, now he listened to lawyers who now thought this will have grave implications if you publish those names. How so? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I agree with the presidency. I mean, after listening to legal advice and having considered the matter myself, I think that the president or the federal government cannot release the names of people, the people who refunded money. The main reason, legal and also maybe political, if we look at it legally, the Constitution says that everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So the first thing is that it's only a court that can pronounce that anybody has stolen money. So the federal government cannot then go on air and say, we release names of looters. They do not have the constitutional powers.
Okay. But then, the question will then be, are they releasing those names as though they are guilty, or that these are the funds we have recovered from these persons? Not that these persons are guilty of anything, but we have these monies from these names.
Yeah, that is twofold. The first is that, one, indirectly you're pronouncing on their innocence or otherwise. The only way you can do it is to take them to court. Let me give you a typical example. If you apprehend somebody in public stealing money, what do? Right? You don't send him to jail straight away, but you give him a right due process, even though he was caught red-handed in the act of stealing or assault or whatever.
But at that point, they're suspects.
They're suspects. The police apprehends them, they charge him to court, and the case is proven. It is only after a court pronounces him guilty that it becomes a convict. So you cannot say because you apprehended him there and then, that then you're going to dispense with the due process and just send him to jail, or like in worst cases, even mob him and kill him to death and beat him to death. So there must be due process. So the fact that somebody refunds money does not amount to a pronouncement of guilt, except you take him through the judicial process. Now, again, the other reason is that, look, there are some people who receive this money without knowing the source. So when you confront them with the facts, say, look, this money you took was actually money meant for procurement of defense contracts or what have you. This money ought not to have been given to you. The person tells you that, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
But he refunded the money.
But he refunds the money. So in that instance, if you publish his name, then you're tarnishing his name because he doesn't know. To prove that somebody is guilty...
Why would you refund money if you provided service and you were paid? Are you supposed to be asking people, where did you get that money from?
There are two instances. There are people who provided legitimate service.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the money that was used for you to provide the services was not from, was from the state's coffers. So then the issue is, it was an illegal contract ab initio. So if you look at those kind of people, mainly professionals. So for example, if you have maybe an accountant or maybe a legal practitioner or a medical doctor who provides genuine professional services and is paid from these looted funds, and you confront him and he says, well, I had no idea, and he could possibly have had no idea where the money was coming from. So then he says, okay, then you say, okay, you have to refund the money. Then he refunds the money. Then you want to publish his name.
But these same persons are in court. Okay, let's assume that, because there's been those who are undergoing trial now.
Yeah.
There's been several reports saying, well, this man A says, I'm willing to refund so amount of money, and then he's also in court. So if they publish that kind of scenario, because everybody knows they're in court, will that still be tarnishing his image?
It's not so much tarnishing his image, but short-circuiting the judicial process. Because look, if you're in court and somebody wants to, in this instance, adopt what is called maybe a plea bargain, you have to wait for the process to go through. It's as simple as that. So even if I'm in court and I refund some money, then you wait for the court to conclude the process. Then everybody is free to publish it. But if the plea bargain doesn't go through, or it falls through, then the case, the matter has been prejudged.
So even if you do something like a public, I'm just thinking of a way around this legal implications and all of that. What if you publish with a caveat that there's still a legal process that has to go through, but we just want you, because some people are asking, what's wrong with Nigerians wanting to know the people that took their monies?
I believe that, look, we sometimes, although you can understand and sympathize with the clamor for the release of the names because of the times we're in and the dire state of our finances, of our nation, of a lot of integrity deficit that we face as a people and as a nation. So you can understand. But then again, we must not always give in to mob instincts. We must follow the due process of law. That's the truth. Because if we do not do that, then come the day when you have somebody who wants to abuse this kind of thing, and then it will be too late in the day for you to protest. It's not that the names will not be released. I don't think that's what they're saying. But they must follow due process of law. You just don't call somebody's name in the newspaper or on air and pronounce him guilty.
What if you put a caveat?
Yes.
If you put a caveat and say, look, we're not saying they're innocent. This is just the processes we're going through. This case is in court. We have recovered such a certain amount of money. You say that still amounts to the same thing. It's
still, because in the eyes of the public, once your name is there, the caveat will grab little attention. It's just that, oh, Mr. X or Chief X's name is amongst the people who looted. They're not going to, the caveat would at that time be immaterial.
So, Onigbanjo, you see, before now, and I'm sure, I can't say for certain, but it's possible that some of the people whose names might be on the list have already been mentioned in the social space, as in people have already heard some of the things they took. Maybe they cannot say exactly how much what they took and all of that. If those people's names are already out in the public space, is it still wrong to bring it out and say, okay, indeed, we can confirm that this person took this amount of money? That's on one side. On the other side of it, doesn't it look like the authorities are being soft on those who have depleted the nation's accounts?
Two things. As to some names being in the social media, it's still speculation. It's in the realm of speculation, rumors, and what have you. But the minute that the federal government publishes the names, it leaves the realm of speculation. It becomes a pronouncement.
Caveat or not?
Caveat or not. It becomes a pronouncement. Names, reputations will be tarnished. And then the most important thing is that you short-circuit the judicial system. Because that's why you have separation of powers. Courts are to pronounce on the rights and obligations of citizens, not the executive arm. Now, the second part of it is that you said that, if you remind me,
doesn't it look as if the authorities are being soft on those?
They're not being soft. They're just complying with the rule of law. Because why do we then have this elaborate set of laws, and then because the national mood at that moment dictates that we break the laws, then we go ahead. No.
Okay,
We need to strictly adhere to what the laws and statutes says.
Since the list was not released or was not published on May the 29th, as the president had promised, shouldn't the federal government have taken its time, gone through the court process, and then release so that all of this back and forth is taken care of once again?
Let me tell you, I think that perhaps with insight, what the federal government should have done is to explain why they couldn't release the names as promised, to tell us the constraints, to tell us the legal advice that they received that prevents them from releasing. Maybe that will douse the clamor for the release of the names. On the political angle, if we look at it, that if you release these names now, maybe there are still a lot of people who want to refund whatever ill-gotten loot that they've taken. This will be a disincentive for them to release the names. And I can tell you that it is easier, cheaper, and faster to get these people to voluntarily release the loot.
That's assuming they're going to get plea bargain.
Yes.
Because at the moment, I think the language from the impression we have from this government is that perish the thought of plea bargain. So even if you refund the money, you will still face trial. So where's the incentive to refund the money?
Well, you know, I don't know about their policy direction, but I think that if, for example, somebody has not yet voluntarily refunded his own loot, and then you publish the names of the people who has, then you say, I'm not going to get myself into this embarrassing situation. And then you wait for the long process that will go on in court.
But some say it's already a lose-lose situation for them because, number one, because I think I heard them say, look, the fact that they're refunding this money does not mean they're not going to go through the process or the trial, however long or short. It means they will still go through it. So
look, in the administration of justice system, there is leniency for people who cooperate. So plea bargain or no plea bargain, the law recognizes that once an accused person cooperates with the state in a criminal matter, then it can have a lesser term because there's a maximum and there's, you know, the judges have a discretion between imposing the maximum sentence or the minimum.
So does that matter whether or not prosecution demands it or not? If prosecution says...
It's something that a defense counsel or the counsel for an accused will seek from the court to say, look, my client cooperated with the state, he refunded monies, he didn't put them through long litigation process. So they take that, they factor that in sentencing. It's not that he will not be convicted, but they factor that into sentencing, that, okay, yes, he's cooperated.
So, well, what's the difference if a man is arrested and then the media publishes, both electronic, print, and online media publish that, well, this man has been arrested. Well, the same man, maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks later, is willing or has refunded a certain amount of money, but he's in court for that kind of process. What's the difference with that one and publishing
the difference is that the media are simply reporting what is going on in the trial of the man. It's led by what is happening in court, that kind of report. That's a situation and factual report of court proceedings, which the media are entitled to carry out.
What if part of it is a press statement from one of those commissions saying, well, he has said he's willing to refund this amount of money?
You see, some of those press statements at times are not really legal. Take, for example, the situation where the police apprehend what they normally call armed robbery suspects and kidnappers or whatever, and they parade them on national TV. You know, that violates their rights to a free and fair trial, because you have already prejudiced the mind of the judge, the mind of the public against them. And I think even maybe there's a court judgment that they should stop doing that.
The police and military did it recently.
Yeah, they still do it. People still do it, but it doesn't make it legal. So until one day when somebody sues them to court again and seeks damages, because when he's presumed innocent anyway. So why then parade him on national TV with handcuffs? You show the guns, you show all kinds of things. You parade him in such a state that the viewer is left with no other impression other than this man is guilty of the allegations against him. So doing that in itself is not necessarily right.